and express my gratitude for the time and dedication that they have given to this process and to bring to you this recommendation today. So first we have Tim Burke. So if they could raise their hand so that, I think we all know who Tim Burke is. Tim Burke, the county attorney, is the director representative. We have Erin Kelly, the HR representative. Corey Hardinger as the management and budget rep. Ashley Treese as the enterprise fund rep. Kara Bolton from IT as a member at large. And then we have Chris Weinbrenner from economic development as a member at large. I am the facilitator of the committee and also a non-voting member. I also want to take this time to thank all the directors and their staff for promptly providing information to the committee members. Okay, next. 29 commissioner positions were requested through this budget process. Position requests from our governmental partners, such as the Sheriff's Office, State's Attorney, and courts, are evaluated by the Budget Office. The 6 committee members carefully evaluated these positions and ranked them, taking into consideration meeting mandates, workload, and customer service. Every role you hear about today was ranked as either a high priority position or a medium priority position. The high priority positions are included in the committee's recommendation for funding. We understand the fiscal constraints that the county is always facing, but we hope that if you decide to add positions during this budget process, that you would act on the committee's recommendation. Okay, so the highest ranked positions, or the recommended positions, we have 2 lieutenant training safety officers for DFEMS. They requested 4, 1 for each shift. The committee felt that 2 was a good start for this program. However, it's in the board's hands to decide how many positions would be included in the budget. Economic development, workforce development is an admin assistant. This is a position that was previously grant funded, and the grant funding is going away. So it is an existing position. Then we have 2 call takers for emergency management and communications, and an administrative assistant for citizen services in their aging and disabilities division. The next group of positions are medium-ranked positions, and you'll also be hearing from them today for your consideration for funding. We have 2 existing part-time rangers for Piney Run Park that Rec and Parks would like to see go to full-time positions. There's 8 firefighter, paramedic, or floater positions that DFEM is requesting. Economic Development, Workforce Development has an operations and resource manager, an existing position that is grant funded that they would like to see county funded. We also have a training and operations tech for 911 that Emergency Management and Communications is seeking funding for. So what I will do is first, you'll be briefed by the directors and their staff on the positions that are recommended. Then the directors who have medium priority positions will have an opportunity today to discuss those positions for funding consideration. So the first person that I will...
Hey, can I ask a
Yes,
quick question?
of course.
And you used to be there, maybe Ted. So some of the budgets that we're going to see have additional positions in already? Or not? Are these more that they think they didn't get, or are these what they want from that are more than last year?
I believe if there's any positions in the budget, it would be an operating impact of a new building, but I don't believe, Ted, I don't believe there's any
Okay,
new positions
okay.
recommended
So
in the budget.
we should look at these as the new positions?
Yes,
not-
absolutely.
Not additional?
Yes.
Yes, generally speaking, we would not add positions to the budget, except, like Deb said, in connection with the state's attorney building, we've added facility positions, just recognizing that will need to happen.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to move over there, but I'm going to have Chief Robertson and Deputy Chief Supko come and talk to you about their DFEMS positions.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon, and
We're going to talk about the position request for the safety and training lieutenant, and I'm going to defer to Chief Supko, who's put together a great presentation, and we'll both be here to entertain any questions that you have.
So, thank you for allowing time for us to provide justification for the positions that Fire and EMS are requesting for fiscal year 2027. This is a new position in addition to our current staffing. We're requesting an additional supervisor on duty at the lieutenant rank, and that person will be responsible for safety and training programs. This one position, due to our 24 72-hour shift schedule, will actually require the creation of 4 new jobs. That person will be responsible to lead several different things. And I think the best way for us to justify this position today is to actually categorize the things that we're going to challenge that job with into 3 categories. Those categories are incident safety officer, health and safety program administration, training compliance, and program development. Incident safety officer is the first thing that we're going to task this role with. This person will be on duty for 24 hours, have 72 hours off, and while they're on duty, they will be our responding safety officer to all of our high-profile incidents, such as structure fires, motor vehicle collisions with rescue. This person will have the single point of authority to stop, suspend, or alter any unsafe act by firefighters. The reason this is important is because as firefighters, especially at a house fire, for instance, we become very task-oriented. And because of us being task-oriented and moving forward in a fast-paced way, we tend not to see the whole picture. And that is specifically what this person's job would be, is to be solely delegated to perform this task and only this task on incident scenes. And I think you can see how the effectiveness of that safety officer will be much higher than just us appointing that to any particular person on the fire ground. I've always known that when I worked construction and the safety officer would show up, you knew that that was their only job, and there were no excuses. They were going to enforce every bit of it, top to bottom. Their goals will be to ensure firefighter safety, and then after the fire, we run into some other things that need to be attended to. Firefighters come out and they're contaminated with debris, and they need to be decontaminated, and that person would ensure that that happens. This aids in cancer reduction and exposures. And we've seen recently, I think Chief Robinson learned yesterday that we did receive the grant for our cancer evaluations.
Correct.
So cancer is a long-term effect. Incident safety is a short-term effect. You can stop someone from being underneath something that might collapse. Their job will also be to make sure our folks are decontaminated and wearing the proper gear, not breathing in smoke. They should be wearing their breathing apparatus. And 30 years down the road, this will make a difference. This will prevent some cancers from occurring, and accompanied with our cancer testing, we should be much more proactive. Then finally, at the end of the fire, firefighters typically want to go back to work. Rescuers want to go back to work helping clean up, and they need to rehab. They need to get their pulse rate down. They need to rehabilitate through hydrating. We're all familiar with the new heat stress policy that just came out in the county just last year, where it mandates those things. I have 2 more slides I'm going to go through, and they do have a gray box on the slide that lists the code compliance that we can associate with either OSHA or NFPA, and I'm not going to pretend to list all the things in there while I'm sitting next to the resident expert who knows the NFPA codes inside and out. But a lot of what we're asking this position to do directly correlates to OSHA, MOSH, and NFPA mandates. The second thing that we'll challenge this position with is health and safety program administration. As a department, we've been very proactive with putting policies and things into place to help our members adhere to certain things such as respiratory protection. But who's out there in the field making sure that it's happening the way it should happen every single day? And that's what this person will do. They'll also aid in diminishing some of the workload for the shift commander, the battalion chief on duty. They will handle the accident investigations. During a vehicle accident, there's post-accident drug testing. We must maintain, so to speak, custody of our employee where we transport them from point A to point B for the testing after an accident. We've put policies in place to trigger those things. So we're proactive as we can be with department-wide policy, but what we need is the person who's going to facilitate that, and that's why this position is so important. Anytime one of our EMS providers is exposed by a bloodborne pathogen, there's specific testing and processes and paperwork that have to be filled out. That's at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's, directly after an accident when everybody's tired. That has to happen. It's in conjunction with the hospitals. We work with them. Our NFPA physicals are mandated. Currently, we have Chief Brothers, our Chief of Training, Health, and Safety, who handles scheduling all those. That's quite the workload for a chief officer, and we would delegate that down to the individual shifts. So our 220-some physicals would be divided by 4, and that particular shift officer would schedule those. And then finally, when you assign somebody to this task, their eye is going to be trained to risk management and loss preventive initiatives, much more so than anybody else would. They'll do safety gear inspections annually. We're supposed to check our PPE, our helmets, our gloves, our vehicles, our stations. All of those are supposed to be inspected by a safety officer on a yearly basis. And then finally, after we find these 4 good, hardworking people, we're going to task them with things to do specifically to them. So this is kind of a random list that we put together just to divide the labor up. But for instance, one of our A-shift safety officer would be in charge of a driver's training program, vehicle design for safety's sake, and then after-action reviews. We'll move on to one of them designing skills-based training, OSHA compliance, ensuring that all of our members are up to date on the most current rules and regs for workplace harassment. And then finally, if we're going to have a safety officer, we need to have safety officer policies and reporting. So you can see how there's a lot of stuff for us to divide up between these 4 folks. There will be no shortage of work, and it will really help us up our level in how we're conducting safety and wellness for our department. The safety committee, the position review committee did acknowledge this as a high priority. They determined that 2 of our 4 positions were suggested to be filled. We're requesting that 4 of them be filled. It is imperative that we have a 24-hour safety officer on duty. Most of our incidents, especially our fires, are on nights and weekends. So if you're looking at putting somebody on duty for day work from 8 to 5, that's a very small window where we're actually effective. So that's all I have for my presentation. Chief, if you have anything to add?
Yeah, just a comment is right now we're grossly not in compliance. And when you look at Maryland OSHA requirements, you look at the federal OSHA requirements, and you look at the National Fire Protection Association standards, that even though they're standards, each one of those standards creates a significant level of liability. If somebody is injured or hurt, and they're not following the standards, we're open to liability. A recent court case in a small town has taken that town in Illinois to bankruptcy because they failed to have a safety officer at an incident. And in civil court, they were sued, and the settlement was $31.5 million to the decedent's widow. The other thing that I will tell you from personal experience as one who is being treated for occupational cancer, these are the cumulative effects. And today we talked about a DROP program, which is a great direction for our people far into the future that have come to Carroll County to commit themselves to a career of 25 or 30 years. We owe to them the risk management component of what we do, and by providing a 24/7 safety officer coverage, we will assure that we are managing our risks adequately. We also see overall significant cost savings. We have had a significant number of accidents in our first several years, and by having someone immediately available not only to investigate the accidents, to take care of the related drug testing, but the remediation of these people by having a shift person in concert with the accident review board that we've established. We will now have a trained driving instructor who will be able to work one-on-one with these people. And then the other area is our volunteers. Even though they all do a great job or attempt within their stations to do training, we'll have a one-stop point of contact for the training that we're required. And for our recertifications, our relicensures, and for the insurance requirements, we're required to have over 20 hours of training per month per person. And these people aren't necessarily going to be training, but they're going to be doing the compliance with the record keeping in concert with our learning management system and filling in all the gaps that currently with our limited supervision with just a battalion chief on duty and our EMS supervisors, there are many gaps that we have determined in our overall operations. And we're really just one accident away or one OSHA inspection away from having some significant compliance issues that will result in both liability and fines. So we
A lot of
feel,
information in a short amount of
yeah,
time.
we feel this is a critical position without getting down into the weeds too much.
Can we
And-
create more questions for you than answers, or is there anything we can follow up with?
Yeah, this is good information. Are there any
Okay.
questions or comments from the board?
I don't know if this is something we can discuss today or not, but do we have, since we're talking positions, do we have numbers to go with each of these positions?
We do. And that's something that we can discuss afterwards. And I'll tell you, the Budget Office and Human Resources were very helpful with numbers. I'm not going to pretend like I work for HR or Budget, but there is a number. And actually, we'll be back up here to discuss some additional positions. And at the end of that presentation, I was always told, don't go to your boss with a problem, go to him with a solution. So we'll have a little bit of a funding solution at the end that we can present to you that might help answer your question.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
If, and I apologize because you probably covered it and I didn't figure it out. This is two different positions. You want 4 people because of 24-hour coverage.
One position.
This is one position.
And it takes
Position.
4 people.
And you think 2 aren't enough?
Well,
to
the
give you
problem would
coverage.
be is with 2 people, we would probably put them on a day work schedule. So statistically, the critical.
That's what I wanted to
Yeah.
ask. What do you do if you only
We-
get 2?
Well, we'll be
We're
paying
asking the same
overtime.
thing, right?
Yeah, we'd have to pay overtime or put them on some crazy shift configuration.
We'd have to divide this workload up differently, and a lot of it won't get done. And the best way to finish up is our number one priority is that this person is tasked with responding to incidents and being the overall eyes for safety.
Yeah.
That's the reward of this position. Everything else is secondary and helps make us better. But we truly want our folks to go home. I mean, and that's you get a lot of hard charging people out there. Our folks are out there and they're fast forward, they're mission focused, and sometimes you need somebody who has that grander vision to slow them down and make sure that they aren't injuring themselves.
All right, well, thank you both very much, and we'll see you again very
you.
soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have, is this on? Yeah, okay. Next, we have Denise Beaver and Heather Powell for Economic Development.
Hello again, Denise. Hello, Heather.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Nice to see you again.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to be here to talk about the critical positions needed for Carroll County workforce development. I just have to say a couple things globally, and then I'll hand it off to Heather to talk more specifically about the positions. But workforce development is a key economic development strategy. It's very critical for us. All of the businesses that we talk to, they talk about the needs for workforce. Obviously, it supports local business growth and helps, businesses to grow if they have the right people, with improving workforce technical skills and doing skilled trades, as well as even leadership and management for individuals. Helps to retain our young talent here in the county as well, and helps us to target certain industry growth by supporting training programs for those industries. I mean, with the local economic impact, basically, if you have a strong workforce development agency, you have more people that work and live locally and spend more money locally, and it has an overall economic development impact. So I want to thank the committee. I want to thank Deb and the committee for entertaining our request again. I think we were here last year at least, and had a recommendation, almost a recommendation for the position. We're here to talk about the administrative assistant position. And I really like Heather's take on this in that, with a strong workforce development agency, you have to have a basic infrastructure in place to support it. And we can't always rely on grant programs because, as we know, they ebb and flow, and sometimes they go away, and they have certain restrictions. And so if we can fund this position for workforce development, that frees up some more money for specific training services for the citizens. So again, workforce development is a key economic development strategy. I wholly support the adding of this administrative position. Heather?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Workforce Development Department acts as a good steward of our public funds, operating a strong commitment to fiscal responsibility and conducting daily operations with full awareness of our accountability to the county commissioners and the citizens of our county. Our department is consistently financially frugal, strategic in our resource allocation, and mindful that every funding decision must maximize public value and impact. While many discretionary and competitive grants are short-term and not suitable for sustaining permanent staff, the core federal Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grant, which establishes the Workforce Development Board and funds the county's workforce system, has been in place for more than 35 years. This confirms that workforce development is a permanent and essential public function, not a temporary initiative. With each grant received, apportioning time and effort for administrative and operational positions represents funding is not available for direct services to our county residents. For every hour charged to a grant for internal administrative function reduces the amount of funding that can be used for training, supportive services, employer engagement, and participant outcomes. While training, time and effort, reporting is a federal compliance requirement, it is also highly time-consuming and administratively burdensome, further diverting staff resources away from programmatic work that we do. It's also important to note that none of the current grants require a county match under workforce development. Therefore, it's reasonable and fiscally sound for these core operational positions to be funded by the county, which allows grant funds to be fully leveraged for their intended purposes, serving our constituents. County funding these positions ensures that limited grant dollars are directed towards direct service delivery rather than overhead. Over the past 4 years, the department has reduced staffing by 5 positions, and we're currently functioning with a skeletal staffing level, being required to expand services, increase our outreach, strengthen our employer engagement, and prioritize services to the most in need. As we continue to tell our story and respond to increasing community demand, the gap between required services and available internal capacity continues to widen. County funding these administrative positions recognizes workforce development as a critical county infrastructure. So thank you to the committee for prioritizing the administrative assistant position. I know it sounds like everybody would like an administrative position assistant, but this person is a key position for workforce development. Working directly with our fiscal manager, doing daily tasks, recording the time and effort I spoke of earlier. All our staff are dividing their time in 15 and 30-minute increments throughout the day across all our grants. Currently, we have 6 different grants we're doing that too, so you can imagine how time-consuming that is. Support of the local workforce board. We have partner liaisons. We're required to work with 5 different partner agencies, and then support of our leadership team. And without this position, we risk delaying payments, reimbursements. We have increased audit and compliance risk that could happen. Our leadership team is diverted from our primary duties and the loss of the workforce board's ability to function efficiently. Good, that is in the right place. Just one final note. Maybe. I'll just close with saying that the county's support for operational roles protects and maximizes our external workforce funding for county residents and employers, and we thank you again for looking at this. We are at the end of funding for this position. We brought it in at a time when the ARPA funds became available, when COVID hit. At the same time, we were becoming our independent workforce area. So we did bring this position on with the hope that we could work out to continue it. So I thank you for the consideration.
Thank you both very much. Any questions or comments from the board? Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Emergency Management and Communications with Valerie Hawkins and Ashley Bergen.
Good afternoon to both of you.
Good afternoon.
Should be the next slide.
Next slide. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to pull anything out, just,
Okay.
yeah. We put it into one presentation.
Different process. All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about these position requests. The first ones that we're going to discuss today are two 32-hour-per-week 911 call taker positions. They were a high priority recommendation by the Position Committee, and definitely want to express our thanks to the committee and the members for taking the time to very thoroughly review and discuss with us all of the ramifications and pieces of what these positions might entail. So currently, our Department of Emergency Management staffing is 53 positions are allocated to us. For the Emergency Communications Center specifically, where these requested 911 positions would live, there are currently 40 full-time emergency communications specialists. Then we have management staff and a little bit of other support staff. These positions would be different than our existing emergency communications specialist positions. The existing positions, those 40, are responsible for both 911 call taking as well as radio operations, so being on the radio with the fire department responders and law enforcement. These positions would only be answering calls to 911. And you might not think about it sometimes, but every single call, almost, that comes out to a fire department responder or a law enforcement responder starts in our emergency communications center. It starts with a call to 911. And it's incredibly important that we keep that vital link between the people in the community who need help and the people in the community who can assist. In calendar year 2026, our communications specialist received and processed almost, a little bit more than 125,000 calls between 911 calls and non-emergency calls. So that's why we're asking for this position. There's a nationwide staffing crisis in 911 centers. Almost every state out there, I don't think there's even any, even Colorado has been a leader in trying to address the issue, but everybody is having a similar problem. So we're trying to come up with some innovative and non-traditional approaches, and this is definitely one of them. One of the reasons that we're looking at this also is to try to increase the candidate pool. There are a lot of people out there who might not be interested in a position that needs to work a full-time rotating shift schedule of nights and days. There may be people out there who could do what we're proposing, which is 4 8-hour shifts per week. And I can speak, I'll let Ashley speak a little bit more to the specifics of that in a moment. So, maybe it's somebody who has children or has other family responsibilities and simply can't do the 12-hour rotating shifts, but might be interested in entering the field, and this is a way that they could enter the field, get started, and then eventually maybe move into full-time. And then also looking at it the other way. It might be somebody who has been in the 911 field for a very long time and is not quite ready to retire yet, but doesn't want to do the rotating shifts and the night work and everything else. This may be an option for them as well. I'll let Ashley speak to the proposed schedule, and when you get to the timeframes, I'll move to the next slides.
Sure. So as Valerie said, we're looking at the 8-hour shifts per week, and they would work 4 days. We have rotations for Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. To cover that overlap, Valerie has some heat maps that we created to show when our highest call volumes are. And we're just trying to increase the staff that we have to answer those phone lines when we get that increase. It also will help administratively. Having the extra floor staff will allow management to get trainings or certifications done while our staff are on shift versus having them come in and create overtime. We're looking at again, Joe's budget constraints that we have and ways that we can alleviate them.
So the first heat map that I showed, I'll go back to that one. That one's for all of calendar year 2025, and that shows call volumes across the days of the week and then by time of day. and that this one is just for January and February of 2026. Just to give you a little bit of a reference about why we're looking at the time, this shift schedule that we're looking at and the times that we're looking at. So for that, that's pretty much those positions in a nutshell. This is I believe this is the third year that we have discussed a position like this. And really, it's trying to be a little bit more creative, and like Ashley said, utilizing resources most efficiently, but making sure that we can still provide the best level of service to the people who are calling us for help.
So for me, I guess more of a general sense question about the call takers. Does that increase the ability to perhaps take on another municipality for answering calls?
The answering calls piece is the same. It doesn't matter, let me put it another way. It doesn't matter where you're calling from in Carroll County. If you call 911, it's going to ring in our emergency communications center. When we talk about taking on other municipalities, for example, or anything like that, that's really more related to the radio side of things, not so much this side. But having, as Ashley mentioned, I would say having this additional resource is available and provides a little bit more flexibility in a lot of different ways, which, you know, there may be things that I'm not thinking about or that we're not thinking about right now where it could help. But on the surface of it, I would say these positions aren't specifically targeted to that.
But they do create some level of flexibility. Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Citizen Services. We have Celine Steckel, Bobby Lawrence, and Nicole Renault.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon, Commissioners.
Celine, nice to see you again so soon.
Good to see you folks again. I feel like I was just here. All right, so I'm here, as we said, with Bobby Lawrence, who is our Client Services Manager, and Nicole Renault, our Maryland Access Point Information and Assistance Supervisor. And we are representing Citizen Services. Gina Valentine, our Division Director, had a conflict today that was rescheduled, so she apologizes for not being here, but certainly is the driver of this division for sure. And I do want to echo the comments of some of the other presenters. Citizen Services is honored to be selected by the Position Committee and the work that they put into this. There were a lot of great questions they asked us about these positions that we submitted, but we are here today to talk about the Division of Aging and Disabilities, which makes up over 50 of the staff positions within our Department of Citizen Services and facilitates services throughout 6 county buildings. The services and programs that the Division of Aging and Disabilities provide align with our mission, and that is our mission, which is that we provide services of the highest quality, geared to promote choice, dignity, and independence for older adults, individuals with disabilities, veterans, and those who care for them. The organizational chart that we see here is provided for your reference to show the hierarchy and the different program lines that are supported by our staff. We're requesting an administrative associate position for the Division of Aging and Disabilities. This position will support the following leadership positions, which would be our division manager, which is Gina Valentine, our Aging and Disability Services Manager, our Community Services Manager, our Fiscal Analyst, and our MAP Information and Assistance Supervisor. The Division of Aging and Disabilities Maryland Access Point site has been designated as that since 2009, otherwise known as an Aging and Disabilities Resource Center, serving older adults, individuals with disabilities, caregivers, and veterans. We administer over 28 grants and programs through that site. So there's a lot of flow coming through our office. The Division of Aging and Disabilities operates 5 senior and community centers in Carroll County. Each center is a community focal point where older adults can receive services and participate in social, recreational, educational, fitness, health, nutritional, and informational activities, also serving congregate meals at those centers on a daily basis. The centers are located in Westminster, Tawnytown, Mount Airy, Hampstead, and Eldersburg. and they are frequented and have heavy volumes and utilization as well. Just to note, there's never, in the upcoming years, the projections of older adults in the population in our county and across the state and nationally are just increasing. So we don't anticipate that our volume, the work that we provide is going to get easier, but what we need to do is make sure we're positioned to meet those increasing needs. In 2005, there were 26,000 older adults, 60-plus years of age in Carroll County. According to the projections reported by the Maryland Department of Planning, the population of adults over the age of 60 in Carroll County is growing most rapidly, increasing 38.7% between 2010 and 2021, and this is expected to continue through 2045. If you note the data from the Maryland Department of Aging State Plan, the population of 60 and over in Carroll County jumps from 46,000 in 2020 to a projection of almost 65,000 by 2045. Those are big numbers and big increases. I want Bobby to walk us through some of the programs that have been added and some of the services and grants that we've added since 2010, because this speaks volumes to the need for an administrative assistant to support these managers and the day-to-day administrative duties in their positions.
Okay, thank you. Since 2010, yes, there have been many additions. First of all, listed, you'll see the Veteran Services Program of Carroll County. This started in 2013 with only one part-time veteran service officer, and now we know that there are 3. They are part-time, full county part-time positions, and a coordinator of case management who assists veterans who are experiencing homelessness, at risk of homelessness, or other hardships. We've been delivering the level 1 screen. This is a screening which is based on an algorithm that assesses an individual's risk of institutionalization and prioritizes their need for community-based care to receive services in home. We complete around 30 to 40 of those each month by phone and in person. We have our Senior Center Operating Fund, and that's particularly for those residing in underserved areas. Nutrition-oriented courses occur. Digital literacy and exercise courses are offered to help older individuals to maintain their health, wellness, and safety. The chronic disease self-management programs, chronic disease, also chronic diabetes and chronic pain. There are virtual and in-person workshops to help people manage their care and be successful. The Veteran Celebration, so this May we'll hold our 5th annual Veteran Celebration. Many of you have participate and attend that. It's wonderful. We know that this is a celebration that honors our veterans and highlights programs and services and resources available to them so that they can come to one spot and get a lot of great information. We're praying for rain, no rain this year, not like today. Of course, we have our Aging and Disabilities Resource Guide, which is usually a pretty big undertaking. Each year, the Division of Aging creates this resource guide highlighting programs and services at the division and within the community, along with valuable articles and advertisements that's sent throughout all of Carroll County. This past year in FY24, legislation required that each AAA must develop or enhance programming to provide services to persons with symptoms of dementia, along with their caregivers. So that is a new program. They will be charged with conducting assessments, making referrals, developing strength-based classes, and then some other brain health activities. I know Maryland Access Point has been very busy with meeting people who suffer from some of these cognitive dementia symptoms and their family members, and to provide assessments. We also have added our fee for service, or federal financial participation. Money follows the person in supports planning. So they're aimed to, we get reimbursement for activities that are done to support Medicaid and get people connected to Medicaid-related activities, move people out of skilled nursing facilities, and support people in their home to deter institutionalization and hospitalization. Thank you, a mouthful. So some of the grant programs in addition, we've had to increase in staff to full-time grant requirements and meet demands with our Maryland Access Point, our Senior Inclusion Program, our Senior Center Assistant, and Dementia Navigation. We've also had to come into compliance with our Older Americans Act final rule. Longevity Ready Maryland, which was written into legislation through the Maryland Department of Aging, focusing, it's a big undertaking, 4 big epic goals that focus on building a longevity ecosystem, promoting economic opportunity, preparing Marylanders to afford longevity and to optimize health. So that's been a big ask and a lot of administrative work going into that preparation. We've also been asked to utilize more smart sheets, which require double data entry, and program monitoring began also a lot more increased changes and additional information, which really began in FY24, a big change for us. Did you want me to keep moving forward, or do you want to go? Okay. So grant volumes moving forward, like I mentioned before, by October 2025, we are still charged with becoming compliant with our Older Americans Act. Some things that we had to implement throughout this past year is we've been asked to come up with our conflict of interest policies. So we are demanded to have a policy, sign statements by our advisory councils, our staff, and our members of our commissioners. More comprehensive look on our legal assistance programs and developing more guidance in that program, emergency management, Title III coordination, and also contract oversight. So this was a big ask of us as well, as Maryland's Department of Aging expand the definitions of our contract, not only to those formal but also informal. We had to create an expansive list, but it was probably over 1,000, 2,000, anyone that we've done business with, not only like our contracts with our senior care providers, but anyone that we pay rent to or provide any kind of subsidy to. It was a big ask, and that will probably be something that we will need to maintain moving forward as well. Also, Maryland Department of Legislation is the grant consolidation of our state programs, our senior care and our senior assisted living programs. It's going to be called SOAR. Supporting older adults with resources. I just attended our AAA directors meeting yesterday, so we will be charged with really how we will revamp that program by July 1st, coordinate consolidation between the both of those, revised contracts, how we're going to be providing services to our clients, and we were directed to basically read that bill and then, work with it. So that's going to be a big undertaking as well. Did you want to move on to some of the challenges?
Sure.
Okay.
Some of the additional administrative considerations for this position are really some of the barriers and challenges that we have that really take time, take staff to provide services and solutions. One is the proximity to the admin offices of the Westminster Senior Center to the shelter. There's a lot of activity on that campus. And we have additional campus strategy work groups that meet on a monthly, quarterly, as-needed basis to discuss those incidents and create solutions surrounding them. We also have an increase in the older adult homeless population, as you would expect as people are living longer. And working with those individuals, they have more complex issues, and we are spending longer periods of time trying to create solutions and make sure that they are connected to resources. We also have, as I said, older adults with complex needs, those are increasing. Our state health insurance program is now also, after this year, with the open enrollment that just completed, the Maryland state retirees, their prescription drug plans have shifted over to the Medicare drug plans, and in that shift, we are helping to support them. I don't know if, Nicole, you wanted to comment on that increase in volume?
Yeah, they had a third-party vendor that was helping with that, but this year we have been told that may disseminate, and we may have that be a huge undertaking to take those Maryland retirees and help them with their prescription drug plans, along with the clients that we already serve. So I know this position was also going to be helping with that piece of it as well.
And there are many other initiatives that we are increasing as different grants come along that we have to help support. And so the new office associate responsibilities, as you can see on the screen, and we've shared many of them, are a lot of different administrative responsibilities that we can lift those duties off of our leadership team so that they have more time to be responding to the state requirements, compliance requirements, and getting those pieces done and leading the team and working deeply with these clients that have the most complex needs. So again, preparing correspondence, updating program intake forms, working with Excel spreadsheets, managing the senior center staff schedules to ensure coverage, also providing backup coverage at the front desk, and assisting with data entry into our AIM and other program requirements for the data tracking, managing our Veterans Advisory Council and Commission on Aging and Disability meetings and agendas and grant deadlines, which is huge. As you can imagine, if we have 28 grants that we administer, those grant deadlines and all the monitoring requirements are another very big piece. So, and with the size of our Division of Aging and Disabilities, the fact that we have no administrative associate other than our front desk position, which is paid through partially by a grant and has duties to support the Maryland Access Point and Aging and Disability Resource Center, that is a heavy lift, because at the division, there is no administrative assistant that supports the administrative duties of the management team. Do you folks have any questions?
Any comments or questions from the board? No, this is very thorough, very informational. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the recommended positions. Now we'll go into the medium priority positions, which are essentially agency hearings. So first up, we have Bob Hicks with Rec and Parks.
Yeah. Our PowerPoint popped up first. Comments? Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
You're good, okay.
Yeah.
I'll pass off yours, Paul.
Were there positions
Yeah, there you go.
requested that didn't make either list?
Yes, there's a lower priority position.
A bunch?
What did we, it was on the one slide, 9.
Well, I want to thank especially the committee that put this together. I really appreciate the opportunity and the time they gave us. We gave a lot of information, got a lot of good information from them. And as a medium level position request, this is one to convert basically 2 existing part-time benefited rangers into full-time rangers. Currently, these positions are at Piney Run Park. Piney Run Park does have 3 ranger positions. One is full-time, and the other are the part-time ones. These positions are really critical, or kind of our backbone to our park development, or excuse me, park operations in there. And basically, they're like first point of contact with the public. When there's every problem in the park, they're the go-to person, kind of the backbone of our park operations folks. These are like our managers on duty that actually go out and make sure they're managing not only the gatehouse, but they're going to do the boathouse. They're checking in pavilion people. They're going out, making sure people, if they're doing picnics out in the trails, they're actually doing patrols, checking the things. They also do some programming, so they do some interpretations, maybe some spot interpretation when someone comes up with a snake or something like a leaf, and they're going to go ahead and answer those questions. Or they're going to be inside the nature center. But they're basically, they're going to be the ones that are going to be kind of supervising the park assistants that are out there now. And also a big part of it is also, they also jump in when there's maintenance needed. On the weekends, we don't have a maintenance crew. These are the folks who are going to go around and actually clean the shelters. They're going to be picking up trash. They're going to be going in and scrubbing in the bathrooms. So speaking from a park ranger background myself, kind of the jack of all trades person. So these are your go-to people, to say the least.
Are they also going to be stopping people from flying drones from the parks?
Well, that's a part of that too. So, but yeah, they have to enforce the county code, since we just updated that today. So that's good. Right now for the part-time, and I want to give kind of an hour breakdown on what they do. So the part-time rangers, what they do is they do full-time from March 1st till November 30th. And then from December 1st till February 28th, they do 25 hours a week. So it's basically 1,885 hours. And that's only 195 hours short of a full-time position. So that's the difference between a full-time and a part-time position. And like, as I indicated, they're benefited part-time positions. I know Debs will probably provide what the difference is from the benefits from a part-time to a full-time. So that would be the difference for these positions itself. So it's, like I said, we're trying to get it. And another thing too, and it's kind of critical too, is also retaining these folks as well. Full-time positions are basically almost like career positions. In the past, we have lost people from other jurisdictions. There's a lot of park ranger positions at neighboring jurisdictions. So fortunately, we got a really good pay raise in the last fiscal year, so we're good in retaining, so we don't lose people to those jurisdictions. And so it's a good retaining, kind of career-building position for itself, and eventually might work into like the manager and things of that sort, so.
All right, any comments or questions from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have DFEMS coming up again to discuss their floater position requests. Chief Robertson and Deputy Chief Sapko.
The
Good
two of you
afternoon.
look awfully familiar.
Yes, we
Afternoon
do.
again.
So if I can, I would like to draw your attention to the first slide where it says 8 roving positions. Having retired from another jurisdiction after 30 years, their term for floats was roving. Sometimes it's really hard to get away from the lingo after 30-some years, but we are requesting 8 float positions. The Position Review Committee ranked this as a medium priority. We're requesting the 8 positions. So solely your decision is approving 8 positions, and then I think part of the justification is explaining how we're going to use them and how they benefit us. So this will bring us up to 6 floaters per shift for a total of 24. Right now we have 4 float positions per shift. And I'll explain a little bit in how our vacation leave works so that you can see why the value of 6 floaters per shift is needed. Our overall goal is just to offset overtime. I mean, backfilling positions, overtime is good. Our folks work it, they like it, but there's a breaking point. So our job as leadership is to figure out where that balancing point is of enough floaters and enough overtime combination. And once you achieve that, we can reduce mandatory holdovers, we'll reduce overtime fatigue, and this will ultimately aid in the retention of our employees. I believe a few weeks ago, you sat through a presentation with ESAC, and they also reinforced that the 6 floaters bringing us up to the 24 total was part of our original plan developed way before my time when the stakeholders developed that mission. So the unique thing about today, asking for the float positions compared to the past, is that now we have nearly a year's worth of data of being close to full staff. And that year's worth of data came in February, started in February when we staffed our last 2 stations. So now we're really getting to see how much leave people use and how we're backfilling those spots. So our mandatory holdover data for last year, 2025, we had 157 times that we held somebody over. We told them, you cannot go home because we can't find a relief person for you. Now, thankfully, it was 26 times that resulted in a 24-hour shift, and then 91 hours for less than 23, and 40 times where it was less than 12. The reason you see those less than 23-hour, less than 12-hour shifts is because when we call somebody and tell them you can't go home and you're being held, the battalion chiefs are amazing at getting on the phone and robo-dialing every person that they can to see if in some way, shape, or form they can get a person to come in to relieve you. And the reason we don't have more than 26 is because of the efforts of the battalion chief and the phone calls that they make. The other interesting point that we captured this year was how much leave did our folks use. So downloading that data straight out of VTI, we come up with 72,000 hours of leave that folks used. Now, this looks at everything. It looks at FMLA. It's not just a vacation day. It's some of that FMLA leave. People might have been removed from the field for several months. So it's a good cross-section of information for us to start looking at. And my goal is to put us in the general arena that this is a good decision for us to make. A lot of this is due to the one thing that's not in that 72,000 hour number are vacancies. So throughout the year, we have a rolling number of vacancies, anywhere between 2 to 4, plus or minus as people come and go. And that number's not included in that. So we probably should consider that as also justifying our need. What we do to control the amount of people taking off is we have a policy in place that no more than 8 people can take leave on any given day. And that controls us having massive amounts of overtime to fill on any particular day. We break that up. People being able to take off, we only let 1 station lieutenant, 1 EMS lieutenant, 4 EMT or FADOs, and 2 paramedic or firefighters take off on any given one day. So using that as a starting point, and I'm not going to get too far down in the weeds with numbers, but generally I want to know if what we're asking for is at least in the ballpark. So with those 72,000 hours of leave, we divide that by 224 employees, we are in the ballpark of 322 hours of leave used per person without including the vacancies. So generally speaking, we do that math and we push it out, and we can see that that number, we could essentially approve 38 floaters to cover all of our leave. And while we would never do that, for me, it makes me a little bit more comfortable trying to bump us up to the 24 that we're trying to obtain. If we do get the 8 positions approved, our total number of floaters will cover 44,687 hours of leave. So you can kind of see their effectiveness and why we're asking for that. Once again, speaking generally in numbers, the approximate cost for the salary and fringe benefits of these 8 float positions would be about $950,000. Yes, it is cheaper to pay overtime than it is to hire new employees. But our goal is to balance a breakover point to where there's not too much overtime, too many holdovers, and our folks are simply suffering from what I call overtime fatigue, even though that sounds like a really good problem to have if you're trying to make a little bit of extra money. But yes, we do hit a point as a department that there is too much of it, and we start to incur other things. So at the end of the day, just to put us in the ballpark, this decision comes down to about a $300,000 decision for those 8 positions, which is the cost for the fringe benefits that are not seen when you pay time and a half. As said earlier, it's finding the balance is key. The paying overtime is certainly cheaper, but I feel like we haven't reached that balance yet for having the right amount of folks in that. And having said that, coming in, I'm always looking for solutions. How can we get to the end of the means a little bit easier of a way? So I found 2 solutions within our department that may help you guys make the decision a little bit easier. The first one is our members receive emergency leave credit. It's a leave type that they can use. Last year in 2025, they got 30 hours. Those 30 hours are essentially from the gracious Fridays that we get where all the employees are allowed to leave a few hours early. While we can't let our employees leave early, we credit them those hours. Each employee received 30 hours, and not only when they take off work using that leave, we pay them. We also pay the person to work their spot. So we're kind of paying double time and a half each time an employee uses a shift of the ELC leave. My suggestion would be to pay that out to the employee and not have it be leave. That way we save the time and a half portion from that, which is nearly $300,000. Our folks have annual leave, personal leave, but the biggest benefit to our folks is if they work overtime, they can decide to take that as comp time. So they always have ways of making more vacation leave if we do decide to go this route. The second one that I have to consider is, since we started, we've always staffed our float positions with firefighter paramedics, which is one of the higher pay rates within the ranks. If we divided our float pool up a little bit differently, and we had, right now, last year you approved 2 firefighter EMTs and 2 firefighter paramedics. So to better balance the 2 firefighter EMTs across the 4 shifts, I would ask that you approve 2 more firefighter EMT floats. And then instead of approving another paramedic, we could make one of those fire apparatus driver operator float, which is also at a lower pay grade. So on my one shift, when I have 8 people that can take off, I have in my float pool, I have a firefighter EMT, I have a FADO, and I have 4 firefighter paramedics, which is a really good balance because we only let a certain amount of people take off at any given time. And that'll net us about $70,000 in savings in just in the baseline salary for hiring in those positions. Those are the solutions to the requests that we had. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Very good information. I'm sorry, Chief, were you going to?
No, our goal here is really twofold. It's cost effectiveness and it's to reduce employee fatigue. And I don't think anybody here wants to have a paramedic who's in their 48th hour of working straight to take care of you when you're having your major medical event. So this would reduce the holdover potential for our paramedics in particular and assure that we're not getting that fatigue. The other thing that we want to try to avoid is a reduction of service. So there are times where we cannot get, particularly at the paramedic position, any paramedics out of the 80-some paramedic positions that we have. No one wants to work overtime. So what that results in is a reduction of service. So we have a strategic level of which communities' medic units are going to be reduced. So by hiring these additional positions, there would be a less probability of, for example, Mount Airy in Commissioner Guerin's district is one of the first units that goes down because that's the second medic unit. Then we prioritize that. We have a pecking order. We'll then take down Union Bridge's unit, and we have a stratified way that we do that. So adding these additional positions would lessen the probability that we would ever have less than our standard daily staffing of 16 medic units and wouldn't have to take any of them down to just an EMT level unit. That means really response times and the ability to go to emergencies. So we thank you for your time, and again, we're trying to provide cost savings here. We're never going to totally eliminate the overtime, but Chief Supko's done a lot of work with our data analysts to try to bring some more cost effectiveness to what we do.
I respect that and I appreciate that.
So we thank you for your time and attention, and we thank the committee for letting us get to this
Yes,
level.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Economic Development, Workforce Development on their Operations and Resource Manager.
I feel like I've seen you somewhere before.
I feel like I've been here all day, which is good.
Third time's the charm.
That's right, that's right. I hope so, let's hope so. Again, the Carroll County Workforce Development Agency, as part of economic development, it's a key strategy for us and is very important, as I said before. We really rely on them. Every business we talk to, they talk about their workforce needs. And we do have a really great workforce here, and that is why a lot of businesses come here, why we've had success with business growth here is because of the quality of the people that are here. And so we want to continue to maintain that and to grow that. And that's really important. But a big part of that is aligning all of the partners that we have that are working with the Workforce Development Agency. So aligning the education and training partners as well as working with the businesses so that we're meeting their training needs and we can grow local jobs. And this position, the Operations and Resource Manager that's there, is a key position to do that and is a key position for Heather and to support Heather in the work that we do to comply with all of the grant requirements as well as the audits and work with the partners and work with the board and have a really active and effective workforce development agency. So I'm really happy that the committee recognized this as a medium priority position for us because, again, it's another position that gives us that basis, that foundation for our workforce center that's really important for it to be able to deliver the good services that we deliver. And Heather can talk about a little bit more of the specifics of the position.
Sure. Again, thank you for, to the committee for ranking this as a medium. This is the third year we've requested this position. This is an administrative position, but we have it embedded in our grants. So that means we have to account for that salary out of the grants, and it is taking money away directly from our citizens. Our entire agency has operated, with the exception of 3 positions, over these many decades as a grant-funded agency, and I think we're establishing that this workforce development is not going anywhere. It's a core service to the public and our constituents. So with that, explaining a little bit more about what the Operations and Resource Manager does, the position is required to oversee the operations and effective compliance with federal and state requirements. So a key part of that is grant reporting, compliance activities that are required within the funding system. The position serves as the equal opportunity officer. Our grants come from federal government, so non-discrimination and accessibility requirements in the programs we provide and the facilities where we conduct our business are very important. In addition, the position oversees resource services in the American Job Center, coordinates with our partner agencies, manages staff training and certification, and supports workforce initiatives such as the Blueprint for Maryland's Education. Because this role supports multiple programs and system-wide functions, it's foundational to our operations. And that's where the challenges come in. Under federal grant rules, staff paid through grants must track their time through a process of time and effort reporting. This means that staff must document exact hours spent working each individual grant program throughout the day. And because the operations and resource manager supports multiple grants, system-wide functions and their time is then divided among all these grants. So you can imagine how much time we take out of the day just recording our time. Many of the responsibilities of this position, such as partner coordination, staff training, and equal opportunity oversight, are not tied to any single grant, but all the grants, making it even more challenging to divide the time up. The administrative complexity of tracking and allocating time also adds additional operational burden. Without this position, responsibilities for grant reporting, compliance, and monitoring, system coordination would need to be absorbed by program staff, again, staff that work directly with our customers. The shift would increase the risk of reporting delays, compliance challenges, and monitoring findings. Oversight of the American Job Center, resource services, and partner coordination would also become more difficult for us to manage. Staff training, certification requirements, and equal opportunity compliance would be impacted. Ultimately, this would shift time away from the direct service and to employers as well as our customers. Again, I just want to stress that Workforce has been a core federal investment for more than 35 years, which demonstrates this work is a permanent public function rather than a temporary initiative. I would ask that you consider this. This would really be part of our strategic plan in moving this position out of the grants, and that whole salary would allow direct services then to go to customers and employers in the area. And I think it's an investment that's well made, and it would be a commitment to the long-term support of workforce development, and we appreciate your consideration in that.
Any questions or comments from the board? Thank you both very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Valerie. Ashley Bergen.
Lots of good familiar faces this afternoon.
I know how to do the presentation this time.
See, education.
Training,
Training.
repetition. We can learn. All right, good afternoon again, Commissioners. This position that we have requested that was recommended as a medium priority is an emergency communications training and operations technician position. This would be a new position for our department. It would be intended to assist with the management of all of the records requests that are received by the Emergency Communications Center, and also support various aspects of recruitment, retention, and training efforts. So right now, all of the things that I'm going to talk about, all of the activities are done by either Ashley as the Emergency Communications Manager or our Assistant Manager of Quality Assurance and Training, Amanda. Last year, in 2025, our department received 672 records requests. And as I mentioned, currently all that work falls to the Emergency Communications Manager. I believe Ashley probably spends about 20% of her week working on these records requests. So it is a lot. We also have, in the past year, we have run 2 training academies. We've had 2 classes of new hires for the Emergency Communications Center. Our Assistant Manager of Quality Assurance and Training has probably spent about, I think I totaled it up, about 1,000 hours per classroom, or per academy. And then she's also responsible for quality assurance and quality improvement, and probably an additional 520 hours is devoted to that. So the idea behind this is, and that's also involving all of the other training that she is responsible for providing and monitoring outside of the academy, because training doesn't stop once somebody gets out of the academy class. There's on-the-job training, and there's also just recertifications and all of those type of things to keep track of. As I said, this is a new position. Our department is definitely growing. We are working hard to try to figure out ways that we can, we're asking for another position, but we're trying to be, once again, creative in how we're approaching it. So instead of asking for 2 positions, we trying to combine it into one. We're really trying to create efficiency and allow the management staff to really do more management related responsibilities and devote more time to that, instead of spending as much time on the records requests. The manager is still going to be needing to do a portion of that work, but some of the work can be delegated to this position should we receive it. Same thing with the training, recruitment, retention, all of those activities. It would not all fall to the management staff because they do need to manage. Ashley, do you have anything else? You are the one who answers all of the requests, so if there's anything else you'd like to add.
I'll say another big part of this position would be, as we said in our earlier presentation, we have 40 full-time employees and we have a lot of state mandated certifications that are required. So part of the tracking of that and just the making sure the records are kept neat and orderly and that everyone is up to date on their certifications. It's just a time-consuming task that right now an assistant manager is doing. So to have just extra hands in the pot to help with that kind of stuff.
Any comments or questions from the board? Well, thank you both very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, that concludes all of the presentations today, and I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you for all of your work, Deb, everybody on the position committee as well. Thank you to everybody who presented to us today as well. These were all very important things that we certainly will be considering as we go forward with the budget. Are there any other comments or questions or anything else for the good of the order from my colleagues? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?